Beirut, Tuesday, July 30th, 2024, 7 in the evening. In the suburb of Haret Harik, Hezbollah's security square in the Lebanese capital, an ordinary residential building stands 8 stories tall. Families are home. Dinner is being made. Children are inside. On the second floor, a man sits at a desk. No official title, no public profile, not photographed in years. To the outside world, he's a whisper, a name passed between intelligence agencies from Tel Aviv to Washington in hushed, careful tones. His name is Fuad Shukr, and he's about to receive a phone call.
To understand July 30th, you have to understand who Fuad Shukr was. Not just what he did, but what he became. Born April 15, 1961 in the small Lebanese village of Al-Nabi Sheikh, a remote place, unremarkable except for one detail. That same village produced Abbas al-Musawi, one of Hezbollah's co-founders. Even before Shukr's story began, the ground beneath him was already charged. He grew up in a Lebanon tearing itself apart. Civil war, foreign occupation, sectarian violence baked into daily life. As a young man, he went to Tehran, Imam Hussein University, where Iran's Revolutionary Guard trained a generation of operatives the world would spend decades trying to find. Then, Israel invaded Lebanon in 1982. That invasion did not just reshape the country, it created Hezbollah. And among the men who built its military arm from scratch, who sat in the room where the decisions were made, was Fuad Shukr, not a politician, not a spokesman, a soldier, a tactician, a builder. For over 40 decades, leaders rose and fell around him. Wars were fought, ceasefires signed. And through it all, Fuad Shukr remained. Quiet, unseen, absolutely essential.
October 23, 1983. 6:22 in the morning. A truck carrying the equivalent of 21,000 pounds of TNT drove into the lobby of the United States Marine Corps barracks near Beirut International Airport. The explosion that followed was one of the largest non-nuclear blasts ever recorded on Earth. 241 American servicemen, mostly from the 1st Battalion 8th Marines, were killed in their sleep. At almost the same moment, a second truck bomb hit the French military barracks 2 miles away. 58 French paratroopers died. It remains the deadliest single day for the U.S. Marine Corps since Iwo Jima. The United States government later concluded the operation was coordinated by the nascent Hezbollah, that Fuad Shukr was one of its architects. He was 22 years old.
He did not stop. 1985, the hijacking of TWA Flight 847. 3 days, the plane shuttled between Beirut and Algiers while the world watched. A U.S. Navy diver named Robert Stetham was shot dead, his body thrown onto the tarmac. 2006, the Second Lebanon War. Shukr helped command the cross-border ambush that killed 8 Israeli soldiers and seized 2 others. That single operation pulled Israel into a 34-day war. Then, in the rubble of that ceasefire, Shukr did something quietly extraordinary. He counted Hezbollah's rockets, roughly 15,000 at war's end. He looked at that number and decided it wasn't enough. Within a decade, it was 150,000. He didn't just fight wars, he engineered the next one, pioneering the precision-guided missile project to ensure Hezbollah's arsenal could strike specific targets with surgical accuracy. Washington noticed. 2013, specially designated global terrorist. 2017, a $5 million bounty. His face posted on the Rewards for Justice website like a wanted poster from another era. None of it touched him. Shukr had built his life around one discipline: never be findable. Same building in Haret Harik, year after year. No unnecessary movement, rotated communications, worked through layers of intermediaries so thick that even people inside Hezbollah weren't entirely sure where he was on any given day. By 2024, he had not been photographed in years. He surfaced publicly exactly once, for a few minutes in early 2024, to attend his nephew's funeral. Then, Shukr disappeared again, back into the walls of Haret Harik. A ghost. an idea with a heartbeat. But ideas can be found, and this one was running out of time.
July 27, 2024, a Saturday. In the Druze village of Majd al-Shams in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, children had gathered at the local football pitch, 12 to 16 years old. Summer afternoon. The kind of ordinary moment that doesn't make history until it does. At 6:18 in the evening, a rocket hit the center of the pitch. 12 children were killed. The village did not have words for what had just happened to it. The rocket was Iranian-made, a Falak 1, more than 50 kilograms of explosives in its warhead. Israel and the United States attributed it to Hezbollah. Hezbollah denied it, and still does. It didn't matter. For 9 months, since October 7, 2023, Israel had absorbed Hezbollah's border fire with controlled, measured responses. The Biden administration had drawn a clear line: do not strike Beirut. Do not let this become a regional war. 12 dead children erased that line. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant was brief. Hezbollah crossed a red line. The only question left was who would answer for it. Inside Israeli intelligence, that answer had already been sitting in a file for years. Fouad Shukr.
Unit 8200, the Mossad, two of the most sophisticated intelligence operations on Earth, and both had been hunting Fouad Shukr for the better part of 40 years. He gave them almost nothing to work with. Same building, minimal exposure, disciplined communications. But after October 7th, the collection intensified. Slowly, methodically, a picture formed. His building in Haret Hareik, his patterns, the 8 floors, his office on the 2nd, his apartment on the 7th. Israeli intelligence had gotten inside Hezbollah's communications, not just monitoring it from the outside, inside it. They knew the layout, they knew his routines, and they identified a problem. His 2nd-floor office was too protected, too low, too buried in the building's structure to be taken cleanly from the air. The 7th floor was different, higher, more exposed. A precision strike there would be decisive. But that required Fouad Shukr to be on the 7th floor, so they needed to move him. At 7 p.m. on July 30th, 2024, Fouad Shukr's internal communications line rang. The message was simple: go upstairs, to the apartment, 7th floor. It is believed the call came from an asset embedded so deeply inside Hezbollah's network that Shukr had no reason, not one, to question it. He stood up from his desk, walked to the elevator, went up.
At 7:40 p.m., Beirut heard it. A drone. Then 3 missiles, fired in rapid succession into the upper floors of the building in Haret Hareik, directly into the 7th floor. The structure partially collapsed. A wall of dust and debris rolled through the streets below, swallowing cars, coating everything within blocks in a thick gray silence. 5 Lebanese civilians were killed that night, alongside Shukr, his wife among them. 2 other women, 2 children. 80 people wounded. Within the hour, Hezbollah said he had survived. Hassan Nasrallah posted that the strike had missed. For 24 hours, the world sat with the uncertainty. Then, Lebanese security confirmed it. His body had been found in the rubble. The man who had evaded every intelligence service on Earth for 40 years, wanted in 2 countries, responsible for the deaths of hundreds, had been killed by a phone call and 3 missiles on a Tuesday evening. He was 63 years old.
Jerusalem, Washington, Beirut, Tehran. Every capital read the same event and reached a different conclusion. Israel's defense minister, Gallant, Fouad Shukr, has the blood of many Israelis on his hands. There is no place out of reach. Washington offered quiet endorsement while noting that it had not been warned in advance. Tehran promised consequences. And then came the detail that sharpened everything into focus. That same Tuesday night, in Tehran, Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, was assassinated. 2 of the most powerful figures in the axis of resistance, one night. The Middle East did not hold its breath. It stopped breathing entirely. In his eulogy for Shukr, Hassan Nasrallah let something slip. He revealed that in the final hours before the strike, he and Shukr had spoken directly. For Nasrallah, that detail had to cut deeper than grief. It meant the penetration was not peripheral. Someone Shukr trusted had given the order to move, and Shukr, careful, invisible, disciplined Fuad Shukr, had followed it. Shukr's death was not an ending, it was a beginning. September 2024, Israel detonated pagers across Lebanon in a single coordinated strike. Thousands wounded or killed simultaneously. Commanders fell in rapid succession. And on September 27, 2024, Hassan Nasrallah himself was killed in an Israeli airstrike. The organization Fuad Shukr had spent 40 years building was being taken apart, piece by piece, from the top down. He had not lived to see it, but he had made it possible, because when Israel pulled the thread ran straight through him.
Fuad Shukr was not a footnote. He helped kill 241 sleeping American servicemen at the age of 22. He built a missile arsenal that dwarfed most standing armies. He fought a shadow war for 40 decades, and for most of it, won. He was not brought down by luck, not by brute force. He was brought down by a phone call, by someone close enough to whisper and trusted enough to be obeyed. The building in Heret Hreik still stands, what remains of it. Fuad Shukr spent 40 years betting that invisibility was an impenetrable shield, that concrete walls and discipline and the trust of the people around him would be enough. For 40 years, he was right, until a Tuesday evening in July, when someone placed a call, and the ghost of Dahieh finally stepped into the open.